Morning, I'm Jay Lund from the University of California, Davis. Um, I'm here to talk a little bit about hydroeconomic modeling and its use for making progress with water management in a difficult world. As usual, the real work behind this presentation, behind all of this work, is done by quite a few graduate students and colleagues over the course of a decade or more. So I thought I should acknowledge them and have a nice picture of them in a more relaxed time. The main ideas I want to get across today are some of the things that you already know. First is that water problems are complex, messy, and involve multiple objectives. But among the many objectives for managing water, economic objectives tend to be pivotal. That doesn't mean they're always the most important, but they tend to be the objectives that make solutions go one way or the other and make judgments go one way or the other. Presentation today is about hydroeconomic models. And these models are computer models of integrated water systems that integrate the hydrologic, infrastructure, and economic aspects of water systems and those relative decisions. This is mostly how real water systems work, where we have to integrate these different disciplines together to make a functioning water system that provides for the needs of the society. These hydroeconomic models organize, analyze, and help us find better water decision portfolios, because we're not managing only water supplies, we're usually also managing water demands and the infrastructure that's between the supplies and the demands. So we want to look at these as an integrated system and organize them as an integrated system. Hydroeconomic models also provide a framework for understanding the multi-objective trade-offs, the uncertainties, and possible adaptations of this system to different uncertainties as they unfold into the future. Overall, these kind of models, to me, the real major intent of them is to help us organize problems so that we can better discuss them and their solutions with the wide variety of authorities and stakeholders that are involved in most water system management problems. Next, let's talk a little bit about what a hydroeconomic model is. Hydroeconomic model has several different components, and so to the right here is sort of a schematic of what a simple hydroeconomic model consists of. It consists of water sources, both surface water and groundwater, aquifers. It has water demands, hydropower, agriculture, urban uses scattered throughout the region. It has infrastructure of reservoirs, aqueducts, treatment plants, pumps, and hydropower systems that we operate in order to get water from the supplies to the demands at the right place and the right time with the right kind of reliability. And then we have economic performance. So for each of the water uses, we have not only a target for delivery, a volumetric target for delivery, but we also have, in a hydroeconomic model, how much is that water worth? The first units of water are usually worth more than the last units of water that we deliver, because the first units of water you use for the most valuable uses. And so we replaced sort of targets, single point scalars of what the water demand is, with a demand curve, sort of from microeconomics. And so this allows us, these water demand curves give us a way of quantifying the costs of water scarcity. Certainly in semi-arid regions such as California, we will always have some water scarcity. And so we're very interested in, well, what is the cost of that water scarcity? And how can we operate to minimize those costs? Plus, we also have operating costs we're trying to minimize. So typically, from a regional economic perspective, we want to minimize the sum of water scarcity costs and operating costs. In most modern water systems, we also tend to have some environmental flows that we're trying to maintain. So here in this diagram at the bottom, we have some environmental flows that we would like to maintain at the bottom of the system. Those might be represented with costs as well, but it's more likely that we will represent them as a very firm constraint that we will try not to violate. In managing this system, we have a wide range of decisions. We have water demand decisions, water conservation decisions at the demand side. We have water operations decisions, how much water to store in reservoirs or aquifers, how much water to divert and allocate among the different uses, how much to pump versus how much to release, how much to store. And so the hydroeconomic model really helps us explore the portfolio, the very wide portfolio quite often, of water management action. So we often have thousands of different decisions that we're trying to coordinate with these models. Again, coming back to the objectives of hydroeconomic modeling, we're trying to develop a framework to organize and find better water decision portfolios. These portfolios consist of water supplies, different ways of managing water demands, and different ways of managing infrastructure. So this table down below sort of develops a taxonomy of what a water supply system portfolio might look like. It has quite a variety of water sources, capacities, for storage and conveyance, for treatment, different kinds of treatment, all of which involve different expenses and different operations that we can make in terms of storage and conjunctive use and treatment operations. We also have different ways of managing water for the different water demands, different kinds of water conservation, different kinds of water use efficiency. And then because these systems often involve many different individuals and many different decision makers, ranging from the individual decision makers that decide how much water they're going to use on their farm or in their house or in their business. Those are the most numerous decision makers on the demand side. But we also often have several different groups that are responsible for different water sources and different kinds of infrastructure, or different marketing agreements or exchange agreements between different water utilities. So we have quite a few incentives to help people work better together as well. And so what we're trying to do is organize these problems and organize these solutions within an economic framework and an engineering framework, so that the discussions that have to occur between the water users and the water managers are more productive, and the policymakers as well. We have here a model that we've developed over the last 20 years called Calvin. It's a model of California's intertide water supply system. And when we made it back in early 2000s, we wanted to make a model that represented the system as it was really operated. We found that after some recent droughts, that the water managers actually operated both surface water and groundwater together and various types of infrastructure together. And they also simultaneously had to manage the water demands as well. So they have different kinds of long-term and short-term water conservation measures, water demand management measures that they would take for urban water uses, agricultural water uses, hydropower, even sometimes environmental uses. So this turns out to be a very complex system. And to manage it in an integrated way, for us, the easiest way to look at that and the most economically rigorous way to do that was with an optimization model. So we have an economically driven optimization model driven by the economic values of water delivery for agricultural, cities, hydropower, and then we have constraints for environmental flows, environmental uses, and state water policies. This model prescribes monthly system operation over a 72-year period with a representative hydrology, historical hydrology. And to me, the most important thing about this model, and all hydroeconomic models really, is that they force a quantitative understanding of the integrated water and economic system and the decisions that are involved in operating it. So this is a schematic. This is the model schematic for this system. It has quite a few reservoirs. I think we have about 50 surface water reservoirs, about 40 groundwater reservoirs. We have water demands for almost 40 million people. and different elements of infrastructure that are run by thousands of different local and state and federal governments that all have to be coordinated to have a functioning water system. So this is the schematic for the model. This is a detailed schematic of one of the parts of the system. So you can see the reservoirs are the triangles here with inflows coming in around the mountains. We have these dirty triangles here, which are groundwater reservoirs, groundwater aquifers. We have water demands, or ovals. So the rusty ovals are urban water uses, each of which has a economic demand function to it, or economic benefit function for water deliveries. The blue ovals are different agricultural regions that get water from surface water, groundwater, or both. And they also have monthly varying value functions for the delivery of water. And then we have lots of different canals, rivers, hydropower plants, pumping stations, all of which have different capacities and costs for their operation. But this is just a small part of the statewide system, but it gives you a sense for the amount of detail that we had to go into, that the many students had to go into in order to quantify this system and interrelate all the many different parts. We were told when we first came up with the statewide schematic, which was the first statewide schematic for all of California's water supply system, that by itself was worth what the agency paid us for the first project. Let me say a little bit more about the economic value functions for the system. So here we have, for the different months of the year, the economic values of water delivery for one region down in this part of the world. But you can see different parts of California have different marginal values for water delivery. And so the model will be allocating water among them. The model results have time series analyses for lots of different locations, water management decisions, delivery reliabilities, operating costs, as economic results, overall benefits, economic values of additional water, benefits to each user, and the economic values of expanded capacities on all of the bits of infrastructure, and the economic cost to all the other water users of environmental flow requirements. We've done quite a few applications of this model for a lot of different water problems in California, many of which have helped influence discussions about California water, and I think even water policies for the state of California, regarding capacity expansion, water markets, environmental restoration, climate change, environmental water supplies, groundwater management, and management of some of our more difficult parts of the system, such as the Sacramento-San Joaquin Delta. This slide gives you some ideas of some of the economic results that come out of this model that you don't get with normal simulation models. And this is the economic value of expanding different surface water reservoir capacities and different canal capacities, aqueduct capacities for different hydrologies. And you can see the numbers vary quite a bit with climate, and they vary quite a bit by location. This has been a very successful model. We still continue to improve it and adapt it. It's run both at the University of California, Davis and the University of California, Merced, and different versions of this model. And the fundamental ideas of it have been adapted all over the world, from China to England to Spain, all over the place. Some things we're currently working on to improve this model is to make it a little bit more multi-objective. So this is a newer version of the model where it operates with what we call limited foresight. So the classical versions of the model would look at the entire 82-year record and optimize it as a deterministic optimization. This newer approach develops economic benefit functions for carryover storage between years, given California's hydrology. And this has provided a lot better more stochastic optimization of water operations for the system. And so each of these, this is a whole bunch of thousands of model runs that were done to look at the trade-off between economic benefits and ending groundwater overdraft in the state of California. So you can see where we're a very myopic operation that doesn't really care about the future, has quite a lot of overdraft and quite a lot of cost. And if you optimize from that perfectly, without considering overdraft, you end up with this perfect foresight result. If you penalize overdraft, you end up with quite a bit less overdraft and quite a bit better and a bit slightly worse economic performance. If you prohibit all overdraft, you end up with, maybe $500 million a year of additional cost. But in between, there's really an entire trade-off curve with limited foresight, where the loss of perfect foresight going from this point to here really only cost you $150 million a year or so. That's a lot, but it's not a whole lot considering we're talking about $5 or $6 billion a year of economic benefits from this water system. And so we can see the trade-offs between different amounts of overdraft and different amounts of economic performance. Some of the other things we're looking at is adapting these kind of water management portfolios that come out of these models with climate change and uncertain climate change over time. So as conclusions, again, coming back to the earliest slide, water management problems are complex, messy, and multi-objective. However, economics tends to be the overriding objective for most decisions in the design and construction and operation, daily operation of these systems. Hydroeconomic models integrate the hydrologic, infrastructure, and economic aspects and decisions of these systems, and helps us model a much wider range and integrate a much wider range of management options and management decisions than we could normally. We're trying to organize, analyze, and find better water decision portfolios, combinations of supply, demand, and infrastructure management decisions and sizing decisions that complement each other, that go well together, and serve the purposes of the system. We provide a framework for understanding the multi-objective trade-offs, as we saw in that earlier trade-off curve, including uncertainties and adaptation. And overall, trying to help organize these very complex and difficult problems to have a better, more productive discussions and better solutions. Because I'm a university professor, I will leave you with a few further readings, and I think I will end there. Thank you very much.